Hey all, welcome to my channel. Um, Today I'm doing a live stream very quickly. As you see by the title, it's just about internet browsers as of 2023. Um, one of the things I made to One of the things I tried to do was, or resolution was for New Year, of the New Year, was every week I would basically do a live stream. And so today is one of those days where it's the new week. Basically, if you see, you'll see that each week I have done a live stream at least since the beginning of the year. So this the following year, I'm trying to do it at least every day if it's possible. But the problem is it's kind of hard to do, especially with work. And the other thing is, if I had it on my mobile device, I probably would have done this earlier. Um, but I don't. I need the subscriptions of like 1,000 or something like that to basically subscribe from my device. So right now I'll have to use my Surface tablet in this case and work off of that. So as you saw with the subject matter or the title, internet browsers. It's so convoluted out there, like so many internet browsers that are out there. First off, in the past, it was always Netscape, of course. When you saw Netscape, as internet grew and was became more public to the public, actually, more commercial to the public. Um, Netscape became the de facto browser at that time, and then Microsoft, seeing that, of course, packaged in Internet Explorer with Windows, which was, by in part, a good move on their part because by and large they overtook the market share fairly quickly from Netscape. That Netscape is no more; it became a defunct company. Um, but of course, with that popularity, of course, a lot of viruses and such came about as a result, and a lot of backdoors and hacks that came around as a result of it. And of course, IE Explorer became very, very slow. I mean, yeah, IE Explorer became very slower and bulky, or bulky and slower, basically. A little bit bloated as well too. That Microsoft figured like no one's going to come in and take it over. Basically, I mean, you had the Mac side, and the Mac had their own version, which was a little bit of Mozilla, but mostly Safari, of course, or an older version of Safari. I forgot what it was called back then, but they renamed it, and rebranded it to Safari. But it was still based off the Mozilla engine at that time. Mozilla, of course, was the de facto, which was Mosaic, and that led into Netscape and Mozilla. With IE Explorer, there was Mozilla Firefox, which was not as popular, but still popular enough at that point. And it was just really a two browser war at that point until Google came in and released their own browser. I mean, Opera came out, of course, and it wasn't as popular. But then, of course, Google came out with Chrome, and turns out like they overshot and took the market share from both of them, essentially from Microsoft and from Mozilla. It became the de facto browser at that point. To the point, like I think a lot of people are now at this day and age are still using Chrome as their main browser. Uh, Me personally, no. As you see here, this is stats based off of 2023, January 2023, where you have basically Chrome, Safari, Edge, Firefox, and Opera. Um, Now, one of the things I would say is based on this, there are other browsers out there in which I can let you know right now. One of them is basically, as I said, there's Firefox, which is the most popular, which is popular. There's Opera, which has its own built-in VPN and started gaining some popularity as a result. It wasn't as popular as compared to the other ones at this point right now, which is Firefox, Chrome, now Microsoft Edge, and Safari, which of course Safari is really only built for Mac OS, doesn't work in any other systems as well. Um, and then with that, you have also Tor browser. Now Tor browser came as a result of the Tor network, basically, or the Onion network. And Tor was one of those aspects, and then you had the Tor browser, which worked perfectly decent as well. I mean, if you want that privacy and such. One of the new ones, of course, in this case is, of course, now Brave. It's coming up. It's starting to become a little bit more popular. The fact that it's based off of Chrome and the Chromium, basically, to the point where, or Chrome OS, no, yeah, Chromium, that it's you have a lot of the extensions that work for Chrome also works for Brave. The other aspect of it is Brave is it has that piece of crypto involved where it has its own little token in place where you can uh, give to back to the publisher and also gain some tokens, BATs basically as a result. Um, but the other factor is, I think the bigger factor with Brave is it has Tor built into it. So you have that ability to spin up a Tor browser or Tor instance within Brave, and surf the web at that point as well too privately. Now people will say, "Oh, what about incognito mode or private mode?" It's not entirely private or incognito. All it really basically is saying is it doesn't record the information on your laptop, meaning it doesn't store the cookies, it doesn't store any of the cached files back onto the laptop or device. And that's one of the things where everyone thinks, oh, it's private, so they can surf whatever. No, its reality is basically it just doesn't save the cached information back into your laptop. So when you go back to it again, it's not there again. It has to like redo all the stuff, re-download the cookies and such. Um, so that's one of the things where people are confused of, and that's where Tor or Brave's Tor extension works really well as well too. Um, it seems interesting to the point where because the fact is like because Brave has their own browser, they're slowly incorporating also their own set of tools as suites as well too, like what Google did with Chrome. If they had Gmail, Google Chat, Meet, etc., to work perfectly well with Chrome. That Brave is trying to do almost similar aspect where they're trying to create the browser, um, sort of their own search engine, as well as um, their sort of video communications, similar to Zoom. Basically, is what they're trying to do. They're trying to compete with Zoom in that aspect, using WebRTC essentially. If I remember reading that correctly. Um, oh, mind you, sorry. Any chats or anything you put in the chat, I don't see unfortunately. I'm using OBS. I still have to figure out how to get OBS to actually show me the chats properly. Right now, if you send a chat, I won't see it in real time. But if you do put it in there after seeing this video, once it's published, I do read my comments afterwards. I do read all my comments from all my videos, and I do respond to them to the best of my abilities if they require commenting or responses. Um, so please leave a comment, by the way. In any case, yeah. So coming back, Brave has that Tor extension, so that's why I think it's getting a little bit more popularity. I mean, Chrome was known for killing battery life. That was one thing. Just like Mozilla, Chrome was known for killing the battery life of your laptops and specifically MacBooks. And the same time as well too is it was a little bit more bloated than it should be. It was like much more bulky in a ways, and that's why Brave was sort of a little bit more leaner than that. But let's not forget now Mozilla coming back. Was also the reason why people were moving away from Mozilla towards Chrome was because the fact was at the time Chrome was based off of the V8 engine, was really fast, very quick. Mozilla was still bulky. Well, Mozilla Firefox was bulky and bloated, even with extensions. And as you added more extensions, it became much more bloated. Um, but let's not forget, yeah, between Chrome and IE, Safari, and Firefox, they all have their own extensions, which work perfectly well. There's a large community store of extensions out there. But the thing is like Chrome is still kind of bulky, and it's known to eat up battery life on your laptops. So a lot of people, and so Firefox went back, re-architected the browser to make it a little bit more leaner, more efficient at least, and less bulkier, less bloated. And I'll be honest, it's not bad. But honestly, I'm still on the Brave. I myself am on the Brave front right now. I'm using Brave more for the fact of like yeah, there's that aspect of getting the BAT tokens, but also using the Tor browser. Um, then there's let's not forget the Tor browser, which isn't bad, but it doesn't have all the functionalities that all these other browsers have as well too. Microsoft Edge, I do use it every now and then, especially if I'm using like Office tool suites or anything Microsoft related. I do jump onto Edge. It works really well with them basically. The other factor is like now they have integrations with um, a tighter integration with Office 365, but also Bing AI or Bing AI Chat or AI Bing Chat, whatever you want to call it, Bing Chat, Chat GPT, whatever it's called nowadays. They're putting that into there as well too, which is going to be interesting at that point. And that's one of the things I'm kind of curious to see how it works in that situation. And the other aspect is like if Microsoft introduced um, sort of a tokenized aspect, like a Microsoft token type of thing, with Edge, as well as the aspect of having the ability to work off of the Tor network, because like the way Brave did it, I mean, Edge, Microsoft should be able to do that with Edge, where it should like what they did with Skype, basically, where like you have private, um, you can do private messages like using the Signal protocol. Edge can be the wrapper to a Tor on the Tor network at that point, and it should work. So if Microsoft were to do that with Edge, I think you would see a lot more people jumping back onto Edge at that point as well too. For those that are Windows users, for that matter. For Mac users, of course, there's Safari. Everyone still loves using Safari, but I think more and more people have jumped away from Safari towards Chrome, even though Safari is more secure, and of course, it doesn't record as much information as Chrome does. That's one aspect as well too. And then, but if you want a truly private browser where no information is recorded off of you and being sent back to all these companies, you use DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo is built specifically for privacy, and it's one of those things where they don't actually record any information or send that information back to them. It's almost similar to what Signal is, basically, in the messaging world. They don't record as much information. They just have some information that's there for diagnostic purposes and such. But that's pretty much what they do. Mozilla is going towards that route, from my understanding. I don't know if that's true. Opera. One of the nice things about Opera, of course, is um, it has its own built-in VPN. So that's one of the nice things about Opera. But at the same time, it's not as great. Now, there's the other aspect as well too, where you have Vivaldi. Now, Vivaldi, I don't personally use it, but it's one of those things where it has that easy customization feature that all the other browsers don't entirely have. Some browsers are now starting to copy Vivaldi, like the groupings, as you see right now. You're seeing groupings. Everyone started copying Vivaldi from that. So anything that Vivaldi comes up with, other browsers or other companies are copying them in that aspect as well too. Um, yeah, honestly, I mean, I would say whatever browser you want to use, it's your preference. It's the user's preference. It's whatever meets your use case or meets your needs. For me, Brave works really well for right now. Same thing with Edge because I'm on Windows. Edge, I might be using a little bit more and more because the fact is it's going to be tied into Bing AI, and that might be an interesting aspect as well too. Unless Brave starts utilizing that a little bit as well too, which I won't. I could see that as an extension basically, and still works off in that perspective as well too. Um, if Microsoft were to give Edge the ability to work in a wrapper for token, I mean Tor browser, as well as sort of a token, like a crypto token in a ways, and you can collect them like the way you do with Bing. With the Bing, when you Bing search something, you do get points, which you can use to redeem them for something. If Edge were Microsoft to do that in that aspect, and they could introduce a token themselves at that point. If they introduce a token, they could also capitalize on that and get another revenue stream at that point as well too. To be honest, um, I think if they do that, I think Edge might become a little bit more predominant than um, Chrome at this point. At that point, uh, in the desktop laptop world, not on the mobile world. Mobile world, it's hard to say. There's a whole slew of other browsers out there that people love using. I, being an Android user, just use the default of I use the default of Chrome. I used to use Brave, but it was a pain in the butt, so I just reverted back to Chrome at that point as well. Too. Now let's not forget though, the one thing is with Chrome, because it has its own built-in password manager. The other aspect is like if you do save passwords there, it was reported a couple of days earlier that there are some vulnerabilities to it. So you have to do lock it up. Just look it up online, and you'll be able to figure out based on what your settings are to make sure that your browser is secure, your Chrome browser on your Android device, or for that matter, on your laptop as well too, or desktop, anyways. Um, but with that, I'll just leave it at that, basically. I mean, for me, basically, like I said, more of a Brave person more than anything else. I might switch back to Firefox a little bit. Honestly, if I had a choice, I may go towards the aspect of Edge if they introduce everything at that point, like what I said, basically. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. What would you do? I mean, let me know what browsers you like using on your desktop, laptop. Um, it will, like what's your most predominant one? What's your go-to browser? Also, which browser do you think we would shift off to if they added these new features? That'd be great to know. Let me know that, and and also too, I might not have known all the other. I mean, there are other browsers out there. Let me know some of the browsers that you're using that I'm not, that I didn't list. I'd love to know and possibly mess around with it and see how it works at that point too. To be honest, and because I'm not tied to Brave. I mean, it was one of those. I don't think people are tied to their browsers only if they're in whatever ecosystem. But honestly, I'd love to explore more browsers and see what's the best one that's out there for me, and for anyone else for that matter too. But with that, I'll just leave it at that. Again, leave me your comments on there. Tell me what browsers you think you use, what browsers you think are the better ones out there. If I didn't list any, please list them out for me. It'd be great. And also, please subscribe. More subscribers. If I can get to a certain amount of subscribers, then I should be able to at least be able to live stream from my device, which would be easier versus having to live stream so late at this point in the day and age. Again, with that, I'll leave it at that. And again, you're welcome to leave your comments again. And I do, like I said, I do read them and I do respond to them. With that, I'll leave it at that.